Dear students, welcome back to the online sessions on DCCN. So we're discussing on the chapter 3. In that, we're discussing on the various design issues and routing algorithms of the network layer. So network layer is the one which will be programmed and reprogrammed by various routers which are connected in the network of network of networks or general networks, whatever it may be. So that means whether you are in an internet network or you are in a dedicated network, routers are going to be there in the network. So in routers, we have to compulsorily write the functionalities or algorithms so that the packet coming from the network layer will be routed in a particular route by following certain design issues. Okay, so what are the three functionalities that we discussed? We discussed about three functionalities of the network layer. Very important functionalities are going to be three, and I'll put together it is going to be totally, there are 5 functionalities. Among them, most primitive functionalities are going to be 3. One is that which is going to be called as routing. Second one is going to be addressing. Third one is packetizing. So the data coming out of the network layer is known as a packet. That's what we discussed. That is a very basic function that every network layer should compulsorily do. Then second important thing is nothing but routing. Once the packet is coming out of the router, which route the packet has to take to reach to the destination? That is important task, and it should be addressed by the network layer. So after routing, next point is that addressing. Addressing means what? Source address, destination address. So how to designate the destination address and source address? It all depends on the networks and subnetworks that we'll discuss later as various classes of addressing modes. That is something like class A, class B, class C addressing modes are there. We'll see them in the different types of addressing modes. How do we assign the addresses of the destination computer and the source computer? Okay, that is what addressing. So apart from these three, there are other two functionalities called as, if you are connecting your network in the internet mode, if you are connecting your network in the internet mode, it should support internet working. Then apart from that, it should support the, that is fragmentation and defragmentation. So these are the various functionalities that every router has to perform. To perform those functionalities, the network layer should support these design issues. First one we discussed earlier, that is called store and forward packet switching type of a network. And the second one is going to be called as services provided to the network layer. So every network layer should provide service to the transport layer. Okay. That means when the data is coming to the destination computer, the network layer should support services to the transport layer. Therefore, services provided to the transport layer by the network layer is also an important factor to be considered, and which is going to be an important design parameter, design issue for us. Okay. So therefore, that is an important design issue for us. The next one is implementation of connectionless, connection-oriented service, and comparison between the datagram network and the virtual circuit network. So we discussed about the store and forward packet switching type of the network. So in this design issue, what is that we'll be doing now? Now let us imagine that there is some network environment, something like this. There is host 1, there is host 2. Host 1 is normally going to have some process P1. Host 2 is going to have its own process, say imagine P2. Now these two want to communicate their data. Let us imagine that host 1 is having some data and it want to send it to the host 2. Right. So this is going to be true for vice versa also. That is, if host 1, host 2 has got some data, it want to transmit that data to host 1. Data or process, whatever it is, doesn't matter. So let us imagine that host 1 has got a data to transmit. So it has got a packet to transmit. Now, in which route the packet has to take, that has to be decided by the router. Okay. So here the packet may take any route to go to the destination computer. So here every router is normally going to store whatever the data coming into it, and it checks because with its checksum about the correctness of data, and then it's normally going to transfer that data to the next preceding router. Now this router is also going to perform the same task. It is normally going to store all the packets coming from this node A. It checks with the checksum about the correctness of data. Now if data is not correct, it will request the data to give it from the router A. So router A would not arise the data related to this particular packet 1 until this packet is simply been transferred totally to the host 2. That is the case with all the routers in the case of the store and forward packet switching methodology. That means here the problem is that every router should have a huge amounts of memory, so that there can be n number of hosts. There can be n number of source computers, say H1, n number of H1 computers. There can be n number of H2 computers, that is called destination computers. Now every router in between has to store the data and it has to forward data, so that the preceding nodes, the preceding nodes, whichever want the data packet which has been released by packet A, then in that case, that particular predecessor node should compulsorily give that packet to the preceding node. So until the transaction completes, the every router in the network should compulsorily maintain the information regarding the packet what it has been transmitted from its source node. So in this process, what is happening exactly? We are simply storing the information and then we are forwarding the information. So where we are storing the information into a router and we are forwarding the information to another router. So this process will continue totally until the packet is totally received by the host 2. That means until host 1 receives a positive acknowledgement, this particular data management has to be compulsorily done by the network in the case of the store and forward packet switching kind of a methodology or a mechanism. Now here in this, what are the problems? Every router should be of huge memory, and it should wait until it gets all the packets from node A so that it can find the checksum of the data which is coming over here, and then only it has to transmit that into the available route. Whichever route is available, that is simply going to take so that the packet can really travel to process 2. So like that, this data is simply being transmitted in the store and forward type of the mechanism. The next important design issue is that the network layer should provide services to the transport layer. So while providing the service to transport layer, the network layer should keep in mind about the type of the networks that we are going to use in the internet working. That means in internet working, how many types of networks we can use? We can use n number of types can be used in the internet working. And those network types can also going to get enhanced. Therefore, the routers used in the different types of networks are definitely going to be different. Now, irrespective of the differences in the type of the network and type of the routers, the data has to be transmitted. Therefore, the services provided by the network layer should be independent of the underlying router technology. As the network type changes, router technology changes. So like this, you may have n number of network types. We may have n number of different router types. So irrespective of all that, the data has to be transmitted. Means what? The services should be independent of the underlying router technology. That is what the service design issue which the network layer has to support. The next one is that the transport layer should be shielded from the number, type, and topology of the routers present in the network. Why this data has to be hidden? are shielded shielded from the transport layer, because the job of the network layer is to find out what routers are present in that, what technology has been used for transmitting the data to the routers, what is the type and number of the packet. All this information is strictly related to the network layer and not to the transport layer. Therefore, it should be totally shielded from the number, type and topology of the routers present in the network. Now, if at all it has to give service to the transport layer, then the network layer addresses made available to the transport layer should use uniform numbering plan. That means if at all the network layer want to share the information what the network layer is going to use while transferring data from source to destination computer, then what information has to be made available to the transport layer by the network layer? It is the information like network addresses must be made available to the transport layer, which should use a uniform numbering plan. That means if at all network layer want to share the address information of the underlying routers or the destination computers to the transport layer, then it should use a uniform numbering plan. Okay, because the transport layer is going to be the top layer of the network layer. So most of the information of the network will be hidden to the transport layer. So therefore, transport layer will be addressing the source computer, destination computers based on the uniform numbering plan. You cannot really confuse the transport layer by giving different types of addresses. Therefore, the address should be uniform, so that because the work of transport layer is not to figure out the addresses. Therefore, the workload given to the transport layer to figure out address should be as less as possible. When it could be as less as possible, when the scheme of address allocation, scheme of network address is going to be uniform. Because whatever may be the type of the network, whatever may be the underlying router technology, irrespective of all of them, if the network address is going to be uniform, then every transport layer can easily figure out where the destination computer is from the source computer or from the underlying router in the network. So that is why that has to be there. So even across the LANs and WANs as well. That means even though it is a WAN connected system or LAN connected system, it should maintain a uniform numbering plan if at all the network layer want to give the network addresses to the transport layer. So that is the service that network layer should provide to the transport layer. So these are all the design issues which are very much essential for us. In general, the internet is based on the connectionless service. It is not based on the connection oriented service. So every internet service should compulsorily support the connectionless service. Okay, wherever feasible, wherever required, the connectionless has to be compulsorily supported by the internet protocols. Okay, that is what one issue. Next is asynchronous transfer mode is basically a connection oriented type of the network connection. Then let us look into the connectionless service. How does the network layer implement the connectionless service? It implements connectionless service by using datagrams. So the connectionless service in the network layer is known as datagrams. So in datagrams, once again, let us look into the same kind of a network architecture here. There is a source computer called as host H1. There is a destination computer called host H2, right? So both may be doing its own independent process, P1 and P2. That is not an issue for us. So say for example, H1 want to transmit its packet to H2. Let us imagine that it has got 4 packets. Now, among these 4 packets, first 3 packets have been routed in this channel, say A to C to E to F, then finally to H2. 3 packets are moving in this particular line, and packets coming out of this, that means other than this, something like 4, 5, 6, or from 4. In this diagram, it has been shown only up to 4. So fourth packet is going to take this particular route to reach to the destination. Now, why different routes have been taken? Because the service is going to be connectionless service. Means whichever route is free to transmit, that route will be taken by the router. That route will be taken by the router to transmit the underlying packet, which has been received from its source. So for router A, what is source? H1. For router C here, what is source? A. For router E, what is the source? C. For router F, E is the source. Okay. So it is transmitting packets, say, in this fashion like this. Okay. So while before the router transmits the packet to destination computer H2, it is going to maintain or prepare a routing table. This is an important task for us. In the exam, you have to draw the routing table. You have to draw this. You should draw this, some example of network mode or something like this. And you should draw the routing table. What the routing table that is being prepared by each and every router in the network. So router A prepares a routing table, router C prepares routing table, and router E is also going to prepare a routing table. Okay. Now, initially, what is it going to happen? Now, this routing table is divided into two parts. One is destination part, next one is the line part. See the destination part? This is destination. That means A could be destination. A is destination for H1. B is destination. C could be destination. E could be destination. F could be destination, like that. Then to reach to the destination, which line is being used? That is another important point for us. So I have to designate line numbers. I should know, first of all, every router, first of all, should know its name or a number in the network architecture. After that, every router should compulsorily aware of the line it is going to take to transmit the packet. So what is the names of the routers given here? A, B, C, D, E, F are the names of the routers. And the line names, that is line numbers. So line numbers also I'm taking as something like A, B, C, D, E only. Now every router independently is going to designate the line now. Say for example, let us look into the A's routing table. Initially, imagine if A is the destination, what is the line that it is going to take? There is no line because it is the starting point. So therefore nothing is there. Now B is there. Say B is destination, C is destination, right? D is destination, all right? E is destination, F is destination, right? Now, if destination is B, the packet coming to B may take a line B. So this line I can take as line B. As I have discussed earlier, this line can be taken as line B. Okay. Then next, when the packet is coming to router C, so the destination is C. What is the line it is taking? Line number C. Now to D, which line it may take? Line B. So I can designate this as line B, or for simplicity's sake, I can take this line as B dash. This line I can take as C dash. So I can divide two lines after A. One is going to be say B dash, another one is going to be C dash, or B or C. That's why I'm writing B and C. And router D is the destination. If router D is destination, what is the line it is going to take? Line B it is going to take. If router E is going to be destination, what line it may take? C is the line it may take. If router F is the destination, what line it may take? It may take this C line. So up to here it is C. After that, from E to F, there is only single line. There is no purpose. There is no reason of designating this line with a number or with a letter. So therefore, this does not have any number. Therefore, I may take, that means if destination is F, we may take line C or line B. Both are valid, no problem. So in the exam, you can write the line description as either C or B in the exam. Nothing wrong in that. Then next, later on, what we can have, say if A is the destination, what is the line to destination? There is no line, there is a direct connection from host. If it is destination is B, it may take this line B. Okay, destination is C, it's going to take line C. Destination is D. See, destination is D, it may take from A, if the data is coming, you can take like this path. You can take from C also, C, D line. Okay. This line, I can take this line, this entire line until it reaches to this is nothing but D, I can designate. I can take this as D. No problem. So instead of B, we may take as D. So next, if destination E, it may take the packet from line B. This is line B. I can think of, we can think of this as line B. This entire A, B, C, D, E line is nothing but line B. Next, to reach to F, it may take line B. Here it has taken line C initially. Later on, it is taken like this. After packet releases, that means it may take another line like this. Similarly, we can just figure out about the routing table at C, routing table at E as well. So if the C is going to write a routing table, what it writes? Say for C, what are the routers which are present? A is a router, B is a router. All right. C itself is a router, D is a router, E is a router, and F is a router. Are these nothing but destination routers from C? Okay. So to reach a packet to A, what line designation the C can give? It can give A. This line, it is given as A, something like this. To reach to B, it is going to use the same line A. To reach to C, C is itself. There is no line required. Then to reach to D, it is going to take this line D. So I can take this entire thing. Just now, earlier we have taken this as line D. So this is going to use line D. To reach to E, it may take line E. That means line E means what? There is a change in the line. For example, what is the change in the line I may have? Just now earlier I have taken this is line C. It is taking like this. The packet is coming like this, then I can designate this as line E. This is called line E. To reach to F, the packet may come like A to C, C to D, D to E. This entire line is nothing but E for me. So like this, I can make it as something like line E. Similar to that, I can just prepare a E's routing table. E's routing table means A, B, C, D, E, F are the destinations, of course. So what line it can use if A is a destination, A is destination from E. That means this is the case when the packet is coming from H2 to H1. Okay, whatever it is. So if E is the destination, sorry, if A is the destination from E, what E will write? So packet can be transmitted from E to A using this particular line C. Just now use line C, no? So line C it is going to use. This line is B, this line is C, we have designated. So it can use line C to transfer packet from E to A. Then if B is destination, what line it may take? What line it may take? It may take line something like D, line D it may take. The packet may go something like this, like this, like this, like this. That means E to C, C to D, and D to B. This is one line it can use. Similarly, D, it's going to use line D. Okay, so, and E itself, nothing is going to be the line over here. F means it may use another line other than what it has been used to reach to F, to reach to the router F, going to be called as line F. So like this, we can prepare various routing tables. So every router like this prepares routing tables. After every router prepares a routing table, then the packets are going to get transferred based on that particular routing tables. Now in this figure, the packet numbers 1, 2, and 3 have been routed in the path A to C to E to F. So this is the routing path which we are normally writing it over here. Now in this connectionless service, the data that we use to transfer the information from source to destination computer via various routers is known as a datagram. That means the huge amount of data is simply break down into small chunks of data known as datagrams. So this small data is being transmitted into various routes based on the availability of the channel. That means here these three, 1, 2, 3 have been routed in this path, and the fourth one is being simply been passed through this particular route. Okay, so this is how we can just simply figure out about this particular routing table. Okay, so these picture of routing table is to transfer the packet numbers 1, 2, and 3, of course. To transfer packet 4, what routing table it's going to take? So it is, the packet may go like this: A to B, A to B to D to E, F, and then host. Another route is what? For packet 4 to take A to B, B to D, D to E, D to E, A to B, B to D, D to C, C to E, E to F, and F to destination computer. So based on this route, it is going to write the routing table, right? So like this, these three tables are for these three packets, and one more packet, another routing table is normally being prepared. So after all the routers are going to prepare its routing table, then these particular packets are simply going to get transferred. Okay, that means the transfer of packets from node router A to router B will be done only after it prepares its own routing table. Based on the routing table only, the packet is normally going to get routed. Okay, otherwise it's going to become like a blind transmission. Right. The next important concept that we can think of going to be what? So you can just simply write down here. Say if this question is asked for say 8 marks, then what you should do now? Just simply write down the various responsibilities of a network layer. In the responsibilities, design issues. In the design issues, let us write down the design issues just simply in a stepwise, point-wise design issues. Then in that, implementation of connectionless service we are doing. So just simply draw this basic network architecture. Then draw these routing tables for packets 1, 2, and 3, and also 4. Then explain those routing tables. Okay, that completes our explanation in the examination. So it really going to take around 3 to 4 pages if it is going to be a long answer question. Okay, let us move on to the next important topic, that is implementation of connection oriented service. That means connection is already there, established. So you have to establish the connection before we transmit the data in the case of the connection less service. In the connection oriented service, virtual circuits are going to get established. Virtual circuits are not dedicated circuits, dedicated connections. They are made before the data is going to get transmitted. In the connectionless service, every router is going to prepare its own routing table before it transmits. Now, that means whichever route is free, a router is going to take that route so that the packet can be transferred immediately from that router to the another router. Right. That means there is no fixed connection allotted between source and a destination computer for that packet to transfer its data. Coming to the implementation of connection oriented service, we normally implement this by considering the virtual circuits. So virtual circuit means what? Physically connection is not there, but before the packet is going to get transmitted, there will be a connection from source to the destination computer. That means the route is going to be predefined before the packet is being transmitted from host 1 to host 2. So this is what the difference here between the connectionless and connection oriented. In the case of connectionless service, host 1 don't know about the route of the packet that it is going to take to reach to host 2, because it is the job of every router, underlying router, to take the route. But coming to here, definitely host 1 will be aware of the route. That means this information can be given to the transport layer as well. So that means in case you wanted to give the information of routing to transport layer, you normally go with this type of the connection called as virtual circuit connections. So here also it is going to prepare the routing tables. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, there are various computers connected to the network. Imagine that there is something like, host 1, host 2, host 3. Say host 1 and host 3 want to transmit data to host 2. This may be the context. Now that means it is going to be 2 or many here. The destination is, say, for example, 1. Right. So by considering this as an example, we just take up the same scenario here of the network architecture. We'll consider the same kind of network layer, network architecture here, and we'll try to explain this communication of connection oriented service. Now A, B, C, D, E, F are known as routers. Now in this type of communication, virtual circuit numbers will be allotted to designate about the route for a packet to take. So that means here, that's why we have just taken two sources, H1, H3 are the two source computers, two different source computers, and they want to transmit their information to host 2. That is called destination computer. There are two source computers called H1 and H3. There is one destination computer called H2. Now in this scenario, let us see how the routing tables are going to write its values. At S routing table, H1, H3 are the source, and at the input side, see to the router A, as far as H1 and H3 are concerned, they are communicating to a single router A. Therefore, these two are going to designate, these two are going to ask for connection 1 for router A, because host 1 don't know about host 3. Similarly, the case with host 3, it doesn't know about host 1. Therefore, host 1 and host 3 will ask the connection with a virtual connection number 1 to host A. Now, what host A will do? Host A is normally going to transmit the data coming from host 1 and host 3 to router 3, and this router will designate two different numbers, because router can decide about the information coming from two different sources, because router knows that the data is coming from two different sources, because H1 doesn't know about H3. Therefore, for these two people, they are asking only virtual circuit connection 1. But router A, what it does? Router A is going to designate two virtual connections, one for H1 information or a packet coming from H1 computer, and virtual circuit number 2 for the packet coming from H3 computer. So this is how the router A has designated the virtual circuit connection numbers. Now what the C will receive? C will receive information from router A with the virtual circuit number 1 and 2. That means it is understood at the router C that the virtual circuit number 1 is coming from one source. Virtual number 2 is coming from another source, that is called H3. That is what understood by the C's router. And what is the output? Then what the C will do now? C will transfer this to router E with the two virtual circuit numbers. 1 and 2 is segregated now, because we got only two sources. For these two sources, two virtual circuit numbers have been assigned, 1 and 2. Similarly to F. So like this, every router like this, every router is normally going to designate a virtual circuit number, so that there is going to be a physical, there is going to be a not physical, there is going to be a virtual connection between the source computer and the destination computer. Now, once the connection is established using the virtual circuit number, the data packets are simply going to get transferred through that particular virtual circuit number. Now, this virtual circuit number is assigned irrespective of the underlying network technology, underlying router technology. It doesn't matter to the transport layer. So transport layer will aware only of the virtual circuit number. It simply transmits its data to the virtual circuit number. Now, what this particular, virtual circuit number one, network type, network technology, what is the type of the, what is the router technology used by virtual circuit number two? It is immaterial to the transport layer. That means these two communications, this type of communication can be done from the transport layer itself. Okay. Therefore, the routing can be called as a, can be done in a virtual circuit mode. That's why this particular routing is called as a routing within a virtual circuit subnet. That means we are simply making subnetworks from the given network. That means subnetwork means underlying network, right? There is a master, there are going to be slaves. Slaves are known as subnets. Okay, like that. So let us look into the differences between these two, virtual connectionless and connection oriented services. So in the exam, we may ask a question, write the differences between connection oriented service, connectionless service, or write the differences between the virtual circuit and datagram subnets. Datagram subnets are known as connectionless. Virtual circuit is known as connection oriented type of the service. Now, what are the main issues that we have to really look into to address these issues? First of all, circuit setup. For datagram subnet, there is no circuit setup. Circuit setup means what? From source computer to destination computer, there should be a connection setup. Now, for this connection less service or datagram subnet service, there is no connection. Therefore, circuit setup is not needed in the case of the datagram subnet. Whereas circuit setup is required for the virtual circuit subnet. That means in the virtual circuit, source computer got its own virtual circuit number. Whenever source computer want to transmit some data, it transmits its data to that particular virtual circuit number port only. It don't send it to some other virtual circuit port. That is what the difference. Next one is addressing scheme. Each packet contains full source and destination address. Why? Because it is datagram. Whichever route is free, that route will be taken by the underlying routers in the network. Therefore, what we can say, each packet has to compulsorily contain the full source and destination address information in each and every datagram packet. Coming to virtual circuit, each packet contains a short virtual circuit number. That's all. Every packet is going to have virtual circuit number. That is nothing but the route. The next is state information. State information. So here in the case of the connectionless service, routers do not hold state information about the connections because connections are made dynamically here. In the case of datagram subnet or connectionless service, in the case of datagram network or connectionless service, connections are made dynamically. Therefore, routers are not going to hold the state information about the connections. Here, each virtual circuit requires router table space per connection. That means here, same story now once again, it has to maintain the state information so that the connection, because one connection is actually maintained for one state of communication. Therefore, each virtual circuit requires router table space for connections. The next one is routing. Next one is routing. Each packet is routed independently. Because of its nature, packet has to route independently. Because since the packet is routing independently, we call it as a connectionless service. Whichever route is free, that route has to be taken by the packet from the router. So every router dynamically will write its own routing table so that packet can be transmitted. That is what the thing over here. Now here in the case of virtual circuit subnet, route should be chosen when the virtual circuit is set up. Route is going to get chosen when the virtual circuit is set up. Now it has to really transmit its packet via that particular route only. So all the packets from source to destination should simply follow that particular route, whichever has been set by using the virtual circuit number. Now, effect of router failures. Does the communication affects due to router failures? Now, in the case of datagram network, the answer is no. The communication does not affect because the packet may take different routes. So none except for packets lost during the crash. So if the packets got lost during the crash, okay, then only the communication is going to get disturbed. Otherwise, there is no point of affecting the communication if one of the router is going to get failed in the communication path. Coming to here, virtual circuit. While the communication is happening, if one of the router which is placed in the virtual circuit number path is failed, then what happens? All the virtual circuits that pass through the failed router are terminated. That means all the communication which is happening in that route designated by that virtual circuit number is simply going to get terminated. That means even though the routers which are there in that route are all working, but they should sit idle. That is what the problem. Quality of service. Can we achieve good quality of service? It is very difficult to achieve quality of service because the packets are going to take different routes. Of course, we are getting quality of service in our mobile communications. We are simply following this connectionless service only, but still we are getting some reasonably good quality of service. It is difficult, but can be achieved. Virtual circuit, easy if enough resources can be allocated in the advance for the each virtual circuit. See, there is a problem here. That means quality of service cannot be guaranteed until you have a bypass virtual circuit connections allocated in the network. If a route is disturbed, there should be some other bypass route to take for a packet to transmit in case of effective communication or in case of providing a quality of service. This is what the thing which is essential. If at all bypass virtual circuit number is there, then only we can provide quality of service in the case of this. If bypass network is not there, if one of the router in the virtual circuit number is not functioning, the entire route becomes terminated until the router is simply being repaired. It is something like a round robin topology. In the case of round robin topology, if one router is in repair, the communication is simply going to get terminated. So that same problem is going to exist here. The next is congestion control. Yeah. Congestion control is definitely difficult in the case of the connectionless service because we don't know which packet is going to take which route. So if more than one route is going to become congested, then it is very difficult to really release the congestion. Congestion control is easy in the case of the virtual circuit network because it is connection oriented. It is easy if enough resources can be allocated in advance for the virtual. The same story now. Like you should have a bypass network. So that means by considering all these points, you can just simply, compare the connectionless and the connection on the type of the services provided as part of routing. Okay, so this is what regarding the routing networks. Okay, in the case of connectionless and connection oriented service. Right. Then we have routing algorithms. In next session, what we do is we try to discuss about routing algorithms. Right. So thank you very much for today's session.